hope you're all doing well. As you can see from the title, today's video is going to be all about my manifestation resources. So places I go to learn more, whether it's podcasts, audiobooks, books, TV, things like where I find all of my information and where I learn about the law of attraction, and also talk you through my bookshelf. So I have some physically in front of me. Some of them I've done through book clubs or I've done on my Kindle. So I'll leave all of those down below because off the top of my head, I can't think what ones they are, but I do know that my Kindle is somewhere in the abyss of my house. So I'll leave those linked down below. But I thought this would be a really nice video for YouTube because with my podcast launching, which is called The Good Vibes Club, I'll leave a link to that down below if you want to check it out. Although I do actually post the podcast episodes onto my YouTube as well. They're not filmed yet. I'm going to maybe do it soon, but for right now, they're just audio files that you can listen to. So if you are someone who has a YouTube app and you maybe don't listen on Spotify, etc., you can just pop it on and, you know, listen while you're in the kitchen cooking dinner or something. So I thought that this would be a really good video to make that leads nicely into the podcast, which is a lot about well-being, manifestation, the law of attraction, all that kind of stuff, but also just living your best life. So all the different things that I believe in and that other people believe in. I get guests on every now and then, and it seemed to tie in really nicely, and just I want to bring more of this to my YouTube and stuff. So here we go. We're going to jump in and we're going to talk about my manifestation resources. So to kickstart, I wanted to talk a lot about books heavily because books are a great resource. I think they're where a lot of people get their knowledge from, and I think anyone that you speak to that is into the law of attraction has come from starting with various different like snippets of information from certain places, i.e. The Secret, The Magic, The Power, Manifest by Roxy Nafousi. Like however it is that you came across law of attraction, the chances are it's probably from the same few different people. I started off with The Secret, which I think is the book that pretty much kickstarts every law of attraction journey, and I found this to be so insightful. If you're not someone who enjoys reading a physical copy, I actually had the audiobook before anything else and I listened to that, but I also have recently watched the is it like a documentary film, docu-film series thing? Basically it's this book but in a video format, and it's on Amazon Prime for free if you wanted to watch that. But I found that quite good as well, just for kind of digesting, because I think everyone takes in information differently. I personally really enjoy reading. Sometimes I like audiobooks, sometimes I prefer a podcast. It depends on how you digest information, but this is the first book that I found, and honestly I think one of the best ways to get into the law of attraction. I have gone through this so many times, it's ridiculous. Like I have literally gone through this more times than I could probably tell you, and I just really like it. I think it's such a great book. And leading on from that, I actually came across The Magic, which I don't know where my physical copy has gone. I did have 2 copies. I lent one to my friend who hasn't given it back yet, so I don't know where they are. They're both kind of AWOL. But I do need to get my hands back on one of the copies because I really want to do it again, and I don't have like a physical one to be able to do it, and I can't remember enough about the order of them and stuff. But The Magic is basically a 28-day guide to how to use The Secret, how to use law of attraction, like almost supercharging it and like really bringing it in as quick as possible in a 28-day period to just kind of prove like this is how much I can do for you from the universe, and it's really good. So that one I highly recommend reading. And then to be honest, I kind of fell into books. Like I had the Universe Has Always Got Your Back, The Chimp Paradox. I don't know where they are, but I do have both of those somewhere. A lot of my books end up going AWOL, if you hadn't already noticed. Like they're just literally all over the place. But those 2 are really good. And I also came across a lot of podcasts. And I personally really enjoy a podcast. So podcast wise, I listen to 3 that are more about manifestation than anything else. So there's Manifestation Babe, who is a great one to listen to overarching. Like I think she is my favorite one to listen to, although I do think a lot of the episodes is like kind of pushing her courses or pushing her academy and whatever, which, you know, everyone's got to do it, everyone's got to like make some money, but I do find that listening to her older episodes are better. They're the ones I personally prefer. Law of Attraction Changed My Life is also a really good one. She's a British gal. She makes manifestation seem so much more digestible, I think. So where Manifestation Babe Catherine is American, and it can get very spiritual and it can get very, depending on which ones you listen to, she can go a lot more in depth with the spiritualism. Whereas Francesca for Law of Attraction Changed My Life, I find that one is a little bit easier to relate to everyday life, if that makes sense. Like I feel like if I listen to hers, I feel like I'm talking to my friend and we're in a coffee shop. Whereas if I listen to Catherine, I feel more like I'm really like into a course, if that makes sense. And Law of Attraction Changed My Life also has a book club, which I'm part of. I mentioned it a minute ago, and every month there's a new book, and you basically kind of like read self-help books together. So every month she'll kind of like break up the chapters and talk about it on the podcast, so you can either physically read it along with her or you can just listen to the episodes. I've done both. I find both great, but it's a really good way to kind of digest different books and like take it all in a little bit differently. And then I recently came across one that is called, let me find out the name of it, Mindset, Magic and Manifestation, which is by a girl called Michaela. Again, another American, but she is fab. I really like hers. Very bite-sized episodes. You can kind of search for the title that speaks to you the most. She, again, gives it in really great bite-sized chunks, so it's really easy to understand. And they're kind of my top 3 for manifestation podcasts, although I am partial to looking up on YouTube and finding like inspirational things from like Tony Robbins or Jack Canfield, etc. Like just kind of searching out the informations from the kind of like OGs in the network and the people that have been in this a really long time and that really just know their stuff, you know, like the ones who are super inspiring. Because I find if I'm on one of those days where I'm maybe not feeling the most aligned and I'm not feeling the most inspired and I'm a bit negative, I just find having something in my ears while I'm in the gym or I'm on a walk or I'm driving really helps, because they're the kind of things like podcasts I can slot in and audiobooks I can slot in and I can listen to them when I'm on the go, versus like a book where I have to be sat like physically reading it. But nonetheless, I do read a lot of books. I make a lot of time for reading books, and I find, especially in an evening if James is working, that's when I kind of reach for books more and I'll make a more mindful decision to sit and read a book as opposed to turning the telly on. So these are the ones that I have been loving, and I have some of these I've read, some of them I've not, but they've been on the bookshelf for a while. And then I'll talk you through the ones that I've recently bought, because I have a book buying habit and it's kind of bad. I do buy a lot of books, but at least I have them and I will read them eventually. But when I feel called to buying one, I buy it and then I'll read it like straight away, or I'll like just, you know, when you kind of feel called to a book, like sometimes I'll look at my bookshelf, which is actually inside my sofa. I like live, it's got like a, it's kind of like an ottoman bed, but an ottoman sofa, and that's where my like bookshop is. But when I look at it, I'll be like called to a certain book and then I'll pick it up and I'll read whichever chapter speaks to me, or I'll read it from the beginning, or I'll look at my notes in that book because I am a note maker. See my copy of The Power for more reference. These are actually more so for podcast episodes though, like making notes so that I can reference things back. But I am someone who likes to just, you know, highlight some pages and just make notes and stuff as I go through, because I find it really helps me. And also, you know, self-help books are personal. They are ones that you should keep hold of. If you want to rent them out to a friend and like loan them around and stuff, amazing. If you want to just, you know, read it and enjoy it yourself, then I actually think this is the kind of thing that's perfect. Me and James actually own several of the same books, but he won't let me touch his because he knows that I will draw on them. So I'm not allowed to. I had to buy my own copy. Starting with The Power, this is a really good one. This is one that I have kind of flit in and out of over time. It's basically like an extension of The Secret, and it's really, really good for kind of reiterating the points of The Secret, but making it a little bit easier to understand, and just kind of, it does repeat itself a lot, but I feel like it repeats itself to kind of supercharge your thoughts and like really, really get it in there that this is what's happening. So this one kind of talks a lot more about the idea that you don't need to have always positive thoughts. It's okay to have negative thoughts, and you don't need to turn them positive, but you need to like replace them with a positive. It's just a really good one. I'm actually going to do a podcast episode about this one soon, I think, because I've really enjoyed reading it. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. And it's slightly off track, but also a really good self-help book is Attached. And this one is all about your attachment style. So this is about your attachment style from the day you were born, basically, like what you have grown up to believe, the way that you attach yourself in relationships, how you are in relationships and how you react to things. This is a great one if you are someone who is looking to manifest a relationship or manifest friendships into your life, because I read this and I found out so much about myself and so many ways to deal with things that have really helped me romantically and like platonically in friendships and stuff. So I think it's a really good one to look through. I don't believe it's that expensive, but it is a really good one. It's a little bit old now. I want to say it's maybe from like the 90s. I don't actually know. Oh no, first published in 2010, so it's not that old actually. I thought it was older than that, but it is a really good one and I really recommend checking this one out. It's one that I actually want to lend to a few friends because I feel like it's just a good one to deep dive into yourself, because I think ultimately the law of attraction and stuff is great, but you need to also do the work internally on you. Like a lot of when you listen to the law of attraction and you start learning about manifestation, a lot of it kind of comes back to doing the work on yourself and like working on those traumas and working on those past things and really getting to grips with where your mindset for certain things came from. Really interesting. Which kind of leads me on to this one actually, which is one that literally came to me at the right time when I was really, really self-conscious a few years ago, and I have never read it fully. I've kind of flit in and out, and I've read little bits and then I've gone back to it, and I just really like it. It's one that I really want to get through and like fully read, because it's such a good book. So it's You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. This was actually one of the book club ones. If you do sign up to the book club, I'll put it in the description box below. If you do, let her know I've sent you, because I feel like I've sent so many people now. But let her know, you came from me. But she definitely did this before I joined about 1.5 years ago. And I want to go back and listen to the episodes, because it's just a really good one for learning about self-love and self-worth and all of those things. And basically, like this says, a book for reconstructing one's life and finding self-esteem and self-love. That's what it says on the tin, but it's a really good one. I've had that for I think about 3 or 4 years now, and I just really want to like get into the nitty-gritty of it. Then we have Manifest, which is the Roxy Nafousi one. This one I kind of see as like a very, 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 very minimalized version of The Secret, and one that makes it a little bit more modern day. So if you've read The Secret, you know that Rhonda Byrne can waffle on for days. She is a waffler. This is kind of like a condensed version in a more modern day interpretation, because Roxy Nafousi is obviously an influencer. She's very much like a young gal in this world right now, and she has the tools and she just kind of talks about it in a much more digestible way, basically, and it gives a lot of tips. So I really like this one. I have gone through this one actually the whole way through, maybe once, maybe twice. Definitely once, potentially halfway through twice, but really, really good. And she actually has another one called Deep Dive, which I feel like might be similar to The Power, but I haven't looked at that one yet, so I don't know. I do need to get my hands on it, but for now I've got a stack as big as my arm, and I think I need to get through these before I buy any more. Then we have Good Vibes, Good Life. I feel like Vex King is the perfect person to bring on the Good Vibes Club. I feel like Good Vibes, Good Life, Good Vibes Club, it would be a match made in heaven for podcast listening. And I really think he is a very inspirational person. If you read his story, which is all throughout this, he basically came from literally nothing and like scary environments where he was in housing that was like terrifying, and he basically built himself from the ground up, and it's so inspiring, and I really enjoy this one. This is one that has got a lot of notes, like this is kind of highlighted all over, and I've really done my work on these pages. But this is a really, really good one if you want to learn about how to be a more positive person on an everyday basis. So vibrations are, depending how much you want to get into the vibrations of things, vibrations are things that are either something you're really into and you want to learn about your frequencies and like the frequencies of people around you, etc., or you just want to know how to live in a higher vibration, good vibes life. Basically, this is a good one. This just basically teaches you how to think more positively, how to react better to things around you, and it's a really good read. We have The Comparison Cure, which is another one on my bookshelf that I've never fully made it through, but I have gone about 3/4 of the way through and really enjoyed it. And again, like I said, I pick these up kind of ad hoc. I don't necessarily read through them the whole way, but it's something that I want to get better at. But each of these have taught me things that I use in everyday life, whether I get to the end or not, whether I read halfway. They've all taught me valuable lessons, and I really enjoy kind of going back through them. And I will sometimes literally just get it, open it on a page and be like, okay, this one is saying, keep talking. One of the things that can affect our confidence is the false belief that we have nothing to say or we're not worth listening to. Basically, I'm like, whatever I need to hear, it will call to me, and I do that, or I look up chapters. So The Comparison Cure is a good one if you are someone who finds yourself comparing to others a lot. I used to do this all the time. I used to worry a lot about this, and this is a good one to keep referring back to, because it teaches you how to be more you and less them, which is so important. Like, being yourself is the best thing you can be, being authentically you and just being the best version of yourself. Like, you're on this planet for such a short time. Be yourself. Don't compare yourself to other people. Everyone's on a different path. It's just a really good book. Next we have The Key to Living the Law of Attraction by Jack Canfield, which is one that I discovered through the book club, and it's a really good one that is very, I mean, to be honest, they're all kind of similar. If you're looking at one that's like the basics of the law of attraction, they all kind of say the same thing in different ways, because the ultimate base of how to use the law of attraction and manifestation is the same. Like, there's so many ways you can explain it, but the ultimate premise of it is the same. So no matter which one you read, they're all going to kind of have a similar vibe, but teach you in different ways, which is what I think is important. Like each person will teach you a different way to make it work. But this one is basically the secret to creating the life of your dreams. This is a good one. It's quite small. It's a little bit more bite size. I really enjoyed this one. I've got a lot of notes in here. God, me and my highlighters, like look, I've literally written paragraphs in here, and like I've got whole pages where I've like circled things, and I get very into my books. But yeah, this one's a really, really good one for another way of basically learning the basics. So Manifest, this and The Secret are all pretty similar, but very, very worth reading each one. Then we have The Money Is Coming, which is one that I discovered through, I think, seeing someone on social media read it a couple of years ago, and I thought I would give it a try. This is great. This is just, I believe she's a London gal. I want to say she's a London gal. I think she is. I can't remember, but I'm pretty sure in the back of my mind I'm remembering that she's from London or she's from the UK, either way. One or the other. I think she's British, but she gives a very no fuss guide to how to manifest more money, teaches you more about money beliefs, money mindsets, that kind of thing. I really enjoy this. It's basically like an honest way to use it, honest way to just get to the deep nitty gritty of how to make more money, which is ultimately what everyone wants to do. We all want more money. This is just the basics of it. So this basically says, what if you could attract more money just by changing how you think? It's a good one. When I read that and it was very fresh in my head, I feel like I had the best months with work. Like I made so much more money, and I'm not saying it's linked, but I'm not saying it's not. Then we have the 5 AM Club, which is quite a juicy book, but this is basically all about how the most successful people in the world wake up early and they get on with their day and they have such a productive morning routine. So it kind of teaches you like those habits in the morning that really get you going. And I do think after listening to this as an audiobook, I definitely discovered different habits and things that would make my morning better, and I now have a pretty, I'd say it's a pretty solid morning routine. I wouldn't say it's the same every day because sometimes I miss steps or I'm really tired or whatever, but I do have a pretty like strategic morning routine. Like I get up at a certain time, I go to the gym, I come home, I make breakfast, I shower, I get ready. Like everything kind of happens in a certain order, and everything kind of, if I do things right and I do my morning routine the right way after reading this and learning the different practices and stuff, I do find that my day is a little bit better. So I recommend this one if you are someone who wants to create like a fail-safe routine in your life that just helps you to live your best life. Then we have Emma Mumford's Positively Wealthy. This is not necessarily about money, it's kind of being wealthy in all aspects of life. And this is another one that is kind of like a, almost like a, what's the word? Like a 28-day, but this is a 33-day. Okay, a 33-day guide to manifesting sustainable wealth and abundance in all areas of your life. Should have just read the cover. But this is basically like a 33-day plan. Each day you have different tasks, etc., similar to the magic, and you do them. And it's basically to supercharge manifestation and help you live your best life. I'm actually going to do this. I think I might do this before I do the magic again, actually. Like I might go through this one because I'm looking for one that I can do like starting today. And like I said, I have no idea where my magic is. Yeah, this is a really good one, and Emma Mumford is lovely. I really enjoy her. I think her social media presence is great, and I think she has some really great bits. She does actually have other books. I believe there's another one or two, which I want to get my hands on, but again, waiting till I hit the end of the stash. And then we move on to my new bookshelf of books that I've recently got in, which are hopefully going to change my life. So the first one is Atomic Habits, which is one that I've heard so much about. It's been referenced in 1,000,001 podcasts that I've listened to. James has a copy, hence why I've bought one. I'm not allowed to use his. But I've heard this is the most game-changing, life-changing book ever, and I can't wait to read it. I honestly think this is going to be the one that I fall in love with. It's quite juicy, but I've heard it's just the most game-changing book ever, so I'm very excited. Then we have this one, which is slightly different. So this one is The Stars, which is basically a guide to contemporary astrology, and this is all about star signs and all that kind of neck of the woods. It's basically just talking through like astrology and relating it to your life, and I'm really into that kind of thing, so I thought I would give it a go. But I got this on Amazon about a month ago, and I'm very excited to give it a try. I think it might be more a bite-sized chunk kind of book, like not reading it constantly, but very intrigued to get to know more about star signs and the stars and the planets and all that kind of thing, because I am so into that kind of thing. Like I am known amongst my friends as being the one who just knows everything about the moon. Like I know if Mercury's in retrograde, I know if there's a new moon, like I know all the things. Then we have this one, which is Work Like a Woman, and I actually got this a while ago, but it basically says it's for changing the way you work, sharing the experiences, what she's learned through her own experiences, and basically just about females in work. Really intrigued to go through it and just see what it's all about, but I know that it's a really good book. I've seen it in a lot of shops recently and I've heard a lot about it, so I'm gonna get my teeth into this one and I'll let you know what I think. Then we have Think Like a Monk by Jay Shetty. This is another one that I've heard about all over the place, and apparently it's really, really good for changing your mindset. Not necessarily manifestation and law of attraction, but he basically teaches you how to think like a monk. So it's kind of his life story and a bit about him and how to kind of apply the things that monks do to your everyday life. So it says on here, understanding things like finding your purpose, overcoming negativity, stopping comparison and overthinking, how to use your fear, etc, etc, etc. Basically like an all-round guide to loving yourself, loving who you are and living your best life. Maybe not so much about manifestation and law of attraction, but still a really good one for self-love and self-help. Then we have this one, which is Working Hard or Hardly Working by Grace Beverley. I have been listening to this as an audio book, and there is certain tasks in here that she sets, and I realised while listening to the audio book that I probably want to get a physical copy, because I feel like when you listen to an audiobook, if they're like, okay, take time to reflect on this, blah, 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 and then they carry on with the chapter and you kind of forget to do that task, that's obviously the whole point of having the book. So I thought I would get it. I've heard amazing things. I've heard this gives you lifelong changes and things to take away that are really good for changing the way you work, and changing like the whole concept of working hard to get success, but instead working smarter, if that makes sense. So basically, yeah, very intrigued, very excited to go through this one. And then last but not least, we have Mindset, which is actually and this one's actually like an upgraded, rewritten version, but this is basically changing the way you think to fulfill your potential. Can we see a recurring theme here? Because I think with a lot of these, they all kind of are, like I said, the same premise, the same umbrella, but they all teach you different things, and I think that's ultimately what's really important. I wish I could have found my copy of The Chimp Paradox. I'll leave it linked, but that one's a really good one for working out like the different parts of your brain and how like different things kind of work and do, and like just kind of working out the logics of your brain alongside The Universe Has Your Back. They were the two first books I ever had, I think, on manifestation, but I didn't really realise they were about that kind of thing, and like rewiring your brain and reframing your mind and stuff. But they're really good if you can get hold of them. But this one I haven't even touched yet, but this one says discovering the mindset for achieving success in business, parenting, school and relationships. So it's basically what all the amazing people already know, how a simple idea about the brain can foster learning and nurture the resilience that is the basic of accomplishment in every area. I'm excited. I also love the smell of books. Oh my god, they just smell so good. But hopefully that gave you some insight into the books that I personally have used and loved. I also do things like gratitude every day and journaling, etc. If you want to listen to the podcast, I'll leave it down below, because honestly, I give so much more information in that podcast than I do on videos and stuff. I feel like I kind of mention manifestation briefly, but not too much. But these are all the books that I have, love, and can't wait to read. If you have any recommendations of books that you think I need to get my hands on, let me know. I have also, thinking off the top of my head, I have listened to Rich As by Amanda Francis. I think that's who wrote that one. I think that's who wrote that one. But I've been listening to the audiobook of that. Again, it's one I need to get in a hard copy because I find it really hard to implement the tasks in an audiobook. But it is really good to listen to them because it kind of digests it a little bit differently. But anyway, without further ado, I'm going to end this video. If you want any more manifestation, law of attraction, that kind of neck of the woods videos, let me know, because I want to start introducing more well-being and health onto this platform. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, hit the notification bell for more from me, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye guys.